This is brought to you by Casey and Gracey at Seaport Real Estate. This video is about selling your business for maximum value. You've worked really hard for a lot of years, made a lot of investments of blood, sweat, and tears to build your company. And for whatever reason, maybe it's time now to exit, to sell, to transition, to leave your business for whatever's next for you. So we're going to spend a few minutes going through the 6 steps that are involved in taking your business to market to maximize your selling price. But we're actually going to start with step 0, which talks a little bit about how this is not your dad's business sale. And we're going to talk a little bit about the differences in business brokerage and the merger and acquisition world over the last bunch of years. So one of the things that happens in a lot of cases now is we're going to do a controlled auction instead of setting an asking price. So the old school, you would maybe put a for sale sign up on your building, business for sale, and you'd say it's $500,000 or $5 million or $50 million, whatever your price was, and then people would begin from there. What we do more and more now is we share all the information about your business, but we let the best buyers determine what they want to pay for your business. So generally this process works best for deals with a value of, let's say, a $2 million minimum or EBITDA earnings of $400,000 or $500,000. If it's a much smaller enterprise value than that or earnings than that, that process may not be the best way to go to market. But that's a big change for a lot of businesses. Second thing, we do a lot of anonymous marketing. We're going to share a lot of information. We're going to create a one-page anonymous teaser. We're going to share that with a lot of companies, but we're not sharing your information. And that it eliminates people calling you and trying to figure out what you're doing and ask you about your business. So we're going to manage this for you. We send out this one-page teaser, and they don't get other information until they sign a non-disclosure agreement. So again, we're going to be directing all the traffic, all the inquiries will come through us to manage that for you. Again, it saves a lot of wear and tear on you and your people. The third thing, we do a lot of web and information and Zoom calls. It's a much more efficient way to manage these conversations and transactions. And again, we want to minimize wear and tear on you and your team. We also are going to build a virtual data room for you. So old school, you might have had a whole banker's box of information that you'd have to send out to everybody that was interested in evaluating your business, maybe making an offer. Well, what we do now is when we get to the right point in the conversations, we give people access to a secure, private, virtual data room. So inside of that, we'll have all your information on financial history, organization, personnel, sales and marketing, all the critical aspects that the buyers are going to want to see. We'll decide together who we give access to that information. They only get it once they've signed a non-disclosure agreement. Again, we put all the information in one place and we let the buyers go there. Again, saves a lot of time and effort. Another big difference is there's a lot more financial buyers these days versus strategic buyers or competitors. So let's use an example of an HVAC company that's ready to sell. Old school, you'd look around, or a business broker would look around the zip code area or the county and look for other HVAC companies and say, hey, do you want to buy this company? They've got some equipment and they've got a customer list and they've got some employees. And it wouldn't generate a lot of value actually, but that was kind of old school, obvious way to look for a buyer. Next level over the years has become more and more strategic buyers. So maybe there's a commercial building system business that's looking to add more services, so they'd like to buy an HVAC company so they can plug in that service offering to their existing customer base. So that's more of a strategic buyer. And in the middle of strategic and financial, it's like a company doing a roll-up, buying a whole bunch of companies in their industry. But there's a new buyer that's been showing up in more and more deals lately, and that's the financial buyers. So that could be the hedge funds and private equity groups or an investment arm as a front end to a family office, the family with a lot of money. And what happens is they're looking to buy yield. They're looking to buy the earnings. So if they pay 5 times earnings for your company, they're going to get a 20% return on that investment. So they're just looking to buy earnings. And they also have some strategic overlap in a lot of cases. But one of the other things about some of these investment portfolios is that when they get money, they're required to invest in the next 5 years. So you might, if your timing is right, you find a group of funds that are like, well, if we don't invest this money, we got to give it back. So they'd rather place the money out in the world, buy a business. So there's some pressure on the financial buyers. So this also helps buoy up the price for your business. Another thing is we're going to fully take advantage of videos to tell your story. Obviously, more and more people are consuming more and more video content, so people are comfortable with that. So we'll create good documents for the readers. We'll create videos for the watchers. And one of the other things is we're going to work with some local bankers and get your business pre-qualified for SBA lending. So that means we create a great relationship with one or more banks that'll give your buyer a good lending package. And when we do this right, the buyer can put some money down and maybe you hold a little bit of a note or not, but the SBA loan and its monthly payments will be covered by the earnings. So they're basically buying your company from the earnings with the SBA lending, and you get a nice payday that the buyer doesn't have to come up with all the money up front. So that's kind of some of the new things. Now the 6 steps we can actually go through really, really quickly. We're not going to take nearly as much time as we did on step 0, but that was an important thing to give you an update on what's new and different, what's happening. So we're going to start at step 1, which is document prep and marketing preparation. So the first kind of things we'll do for you are create some marketing tools, and we're going to create a national buyer database. So again, instead of just looking around your zip code or your county, we're going to look all over the region and nationally, depending on your business. We're going to create a database of strategic buyers, financial buyers, competitors in your market that we might approach. In addition to that, we're going to create these customized marketing materials, a 1-page blind teaser anonymous document that gives the potential buyers an overview of your company. Then from there we send them this confidential informational memorandum. We call that a SIM. And we might have a company orientation video or some other videos that we could share with them. So that's the preparation we do. And then we're ready for step 2, which is the marketing campaign. So we're going to send this teaser out to hundreds and maybe thousands of businesses, strategic buyers, and financial buyers. We're going to list your company on all the appropriate websites and portals. There's a lot of places that buyers go to regularly looking for businesses. And so the result of this process is there's going to be a lot of inquiry. And when people are interested, they're going to be in touch, and we're going to ask them to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and that's the first step. So once we've got a bunch of non-disclosure agreements, then we can send those people the book, which is another name for the SIM, and send them the videos. So now we're starting to educate them about your financial and operational history, the upside, the future of the business. And the result of this process is we're going to get bids. You're going to actually get tentative offers from companies that say, wow, we're really interested, and here's a bid we'd like to make. So that's really exciting as a seller. And then what we do is we look at all the bidders and we decide, we pick and choose among them who we want to take to the next level, which is a management meeting call between the buyers and the people on your seller side. And me, of course. So we rank the businesses, the offers, and the bids based on the price, the buyer, the type, why they're buying it, their history of doing these kind of purchases. If it's their first time ever buying, that's actually not so great. We might like more savvy buyers. Do they have the financing already? If it's a hedge fund or equity group, they do. If they need SBA funding, they may not have it yet. So we rank all these different things in terms of the time they can close, the deal structure. There might be a lower offer that's a better offer for a lot of reasons. So we'll help you go through this process. We'll set up those management meetings. And that takes us to step 4, where we're doing what we call the primary due diligence. we start with that management meeting call, and they're going to come to the call. They're going to send us questions ahead of time that they're going to want us to have prepared answers for, again, just to make things move quickly. We'll probably be giving people more access to the data room at that point. There's a lot more data in there than in the book. So we can get into more detail if you want to pursue this, learn more about this, but for the purpose of this video, there's just a lot of stuff in the data room. Sometimes, this is rarer at this point, there might be a field visit. If the business isn't heavily asset-based, this might not be necessary, but if it's a manufacturing business, they might want to see the business. That happens less and less, though, until we get a little later. That at some point, you might get one or more letters of intent. So the LOI is the next stage here where one or more of the bidders is going to say, wow, I'm really interested. Here's an offer I want to make. We're going to buy your assets in most cases, not a lot of stock deals happening. Here's what we're going to pay. Here's how we're going to pay it, and all other kinds of stuff. But one of the most critical things here is number 5. They're going to ask for an exclusivity period, which means we're going to stop negotiating with everybody else right now. We're going to focus on them. We're going to dig through, and if things work out, they're going to be the buyer. So they're kind of locking up the deal for a little while. So this is really important to choose the best LOI from the best buyer. So what that triggers is the stage of confirmatory due diligence. So that's a much deeper dive. The buyer's going to really dig into the financials. They're going to look at the quality of the earnings, the repeatability of the earnings. They're going to look at customers. They're going to look at like the whole financial history. They're going to dig through a lot of legal issues in terms of your contracts, agreements, employee issues, just all the things that legal contracts touch in your business. They're going to want to make sure those are in place and are hardy and will stand up for the future for them. And they're going to need to understand a lot more about the operations of your company, your HR, insurance, there's environmental issues, how you go to market, what is your sales process, how do you create a new customer. So again, they're going to need to know just about everything about your company. Now, if we get through the confirmatory due diligence and everything looks as we've represented, then it's time for closing. In closing, we show up and we celebrate, and that's a big, big transition, and that's exciting. That's what we've worked hard for. So those are the steps, and that's the process. There's a lot of detail, of course, that's been left out, but if this is something that you think is right for you, or you know somebody that needs this kind of help, please send them along to the Business Seller Center. Thanks.